On this episode of College Press Box, the Super Bowl was less exciting than years past. Also, we look ahead at number 1 Texas softball season after a runner-up campaign in 2024. And Texas women's basketball had a top 5 ranked matchup at the Moody Center. Who would be victorious? All this and more on College Press Box. Good evening and welcome back to College Press Box. My name is Joseph Duffey, hosting alongside Nolan Clay. But before we get started, we want to remind you that College Press Box is brought to you by Cat Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at catmetro.org. Well, Super Bowl 59 finally took place this past Sunday at historic Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, the 11th time that the Big Easy got to host the big game. However, for the back-to-back defending champion Kansas City Chiefs, there would be nothing easy all night against the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's see what happened in Super Bowl 59. Plenty of celebrities in attendance at this Super Bowl in New Orleans, including the 47th president Donald Trump, the first sitting president to attend a Super Bowl, surprisingly. Patrick Mahomes and Saquon Barkley getting ready to duke it out. 4th and 2. Eagles trying to move the chains, going downfield to A.J. Brown, but a flag is thrown. Some NFL fans think there's going to be more of the same with Chiefs devil magic, but that'd be the only help Kansas City would have. But in another possession, they'd go downfield to Dallas Goedert, and the flag would actually be thrown in the Eagles' favor to move the chains. 2nd and 11, Hurts going downfield, caught, and we thought it was a touchdown, but he'd actually be down at the 1. That looked to be former Nittany Lion Jahan Dotson. You know what that means in short yardage. Just tush push time for the Eagles. And they're on the board first in Super Bowl 59. Mahomes will be pressured all night long, trying to escape, going down to Hollywood Brown. Broken up on 3rd down, they punt. And another possession, Mahomes pressured yet again, taken down. And that would be 1 of 6 sacks for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they would not blitz on any of them. Mahomes pressured yet again, sacked one more time. Back-to-back plays, back-to-back sacks. One of the best sequences you'll ever see in the Super Bowl as this next play on 3rd down picked off by former Iowa Hawkeye Cooper DeJean. And he's going to tightrope the sideline, trying to go all the way for the pick 6 on his 22nd birthday. Touchdown Eagles, and they're dominant so far in this first half. As you see DeJean once again in the alternate angle, scoring all the way. Mahomes would then be picked off in the 17-0 game by Zach Bond, the all-pro linebacker. And it's just a nightmare start by the Chiefs. Now in Kansas City territory, Hurts is going to fire downfield to A.J. Brown to make it now a 23-0 game, make it 24-0 after the extra point by Jake Elliott. He would make another field goal to make it 27-0 in this third quarter, which was much more quiet, but Hurts goes downfield to Devontae Smith. Not many that are more deserving for a touchdown in a big game such as this as Devontae Smith, the former Alabama Crimson Tide Heisman winner, to make it 34-0. In the third quarter, Mahomes pursued yet again. I'm going to flip it to Travis Kelce, who with 3 catches in the game would pass Jerry Rice for the most Super Bowl catches in history. And still shut out, Mahomes is going to try to go downfield towards Xavier Worthy for the touchdown. The first former Longhorn drafted to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So 40-14 the fourth quarter. Mahomes going to air it out against the Eagles' backups. And another touchdown scored for Xavier Worthy. DeAndre Hopkins also had a touchdown himself right before that. But Kenny Pickett takes the kneel, and the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl 59 champions, their second title in franchise history. And for more on this historic victory, let's go to Nolan for the first time tonight.
Thanks, Joe. I'm here with Max Dagley. How are you doing, Max?
I'm doing good, Nolan. I'm happy to be here. Bummed we don't get football for another 6 months, but being on Press Box is always a privilege. So happy to talk about Super Bowl 59.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into it. In a game between two juggernauts, the result was very one-sided as the Eagles completely dominated the Chiefs for nearly the entire game. What were the Birds able to do to make such a statement win on the biggest stage?
Nolan, we all know you can't give out Super Bowl MVPs to multiple players, but the NFL should have broken that rule last night and given it to the entire Eagles defense. The fact that the best running back in the league was held to 57 yards all night and the offense was still able to score 33 points definitely speaks to the flawless execution of Kellen Moore's offense. But if you watch this game, I'm sure you can agree that the defense set the offense up for success the entire night. It looked nothing like an Andy Reid offense, and really, this game was won in the first half. The turning point started with 8:38 to go in the second quarter, which was the start of 3 consecutive Kansas City drives where the Chiefs ran 7 plays that resulted in 4 sacks, -6 yards, and 2 interceptions that included the Cooper DeJean pick six heard around the world. The Chiefs' offense was on the field for only 3 minutes and 53 seconds during these possessions, and the second interception Mahomes threw gave the Eagles the ball on the Kansas City 14, leading to an A.J. Brown touchdown to put them up 24-0 before halftime. These 8 minutes set the tone for the rest of the game, and looking at the first half stats makes you realize how dominant the Eagles really were. The Chiefs' offense only mustered 1 first down, 10 minutes time of possession, 1.2 yards per play, and an abysmal 23 total yards. What makes this even crazier to fathom is that on 42 Patrick Mahomes dropbacks, the Eagles didn't blitz him once. Instead, they relied on their 4-man front, who were able to pressure Mahomes on 45% of his dropbacks until the game became out of reach and backups were put in. In total, the Chiefs' offensive line gave up 6 sacks, and All-Pro left tackle and Chiefs team MVP Joe Thuney had a nightmare of a game going against Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, who combined for 4.5 sacks. A big shout out to Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, who has been in this league for nearly 40 years, and his experience was on full display last night as his game plan with the Eagles front 7 proved to be too much for the 2-time MVP and now former back-to-back Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, they say that defense wins championships, and it's hard not to agree with that after what we saw on Sunday night. Moving on to the next question, you mentioned that Saquon Barkley was held to only 57 yards the whole night, yet the Eagles' offense was still able to move the ball down the field and generate successful drives. What made it work for Kellen Moore and the Eagles on Sunday night?
Well, coming into this game, like our good friend Ryan Hopper said on the show last week, I believe the team that was able to run the ball was going to come out with a victory. But shockingly enough, neither team was able to get any momentum going on the ground. And 2 of the top 10 NFL rushing defenses stood on business the entire night. Steve Spagnuolo is no stranger to the big stage, and if the Chiefs' game plan was centered around shutting down Saquon Barkley, they did that, but perhaps too much attention on number 26 was a double-edged sword as his quiet performance was still able to open up other opportunities for the Eagles' offense that was made possible by Jalen Hurts. Hurts has been criticized his whole career for not being a true quarterback, and in their last Super Bowl matchup against the same defensive scheme, Hurts was 2 of 7 on deep passes. But when he needed to make the big throws last night, Hurts was able to capitalize on the man-to-man matchups the Chiefs were presenting to him. Spags is known for his heavy blitz packages that pressure the quarterback into making bad decisions. But other than a lousy interception in the first half, Hurts kept his composure under the constant blitz and kept the Eagles' offense afloat all night, finishing the contest with 220 yards on only 5 incompletions, with 2 touchdowns in the air and another 70 on the ground along with the rushing touchdown. It's worth noting that when Hurts started to utilize his legs more in the second half, the Chiefs tried spying him, but against 4-man rushes and continuous blitzes, Hurts scrambled successfully, totaling 3 carries that amounted to 47 yards in the second half, including a big 16-yard scramble on 3rd down of a 7-minute drive that led to a Jake Elliott field goal to put the Birds up 27-0 late in the 3rd. From there, Hurts throws the beauty of a deep ball over the middle to Devontae Smith to put the icing on the cake and secure his first Super Bowl. He's come a long way since being benched in the 2018 National Championship game. And whether you think he's a real quarterback or not, he has a ring, a Super Bowl MVP, and deserves to be recognized for his success.
Absolutely. I've even myself doubted Hurts a lot since he's gotten into the NFL, but it's hard to argue against it. He's really just one of the best quarterbacks in the league now. Moving on to the last question. A year ago when the Buccaneers stuck into the playoffs and upset the Eagles in the wild card, people were calling for Sirianni and Roseman's head, but the Eagles kept their guys and built a loaded roster and won the Super Bowl. How much of a difference did the offseason make for the Super Bowl champs?
No, it's funny you mention that because once things finally calmed down in Philly, another loss to the Buccaneers in Week 4 of this season had fans screaming for Sirianni's head, and he was screaming back at them too. It was a really ugly scene in Philadelphia early in the season with fans, teammates, coaches all clashing upset with each other. But the resilience to fight through adversity and win 16 of your next 17 games speaks to the talent of this Eagles roster. It reminds me a little bit of Ryan Day leading that Ohio State team to a national championship after the heartbreaking loss to Michigan to end their regular season. In the end, like Ohio State, the most talented roster loaded with depth up and down prevailed to win it all. Last year, the Eagles had a bottom 10 defense where the secondary had given up the second most receiving yards in the league and were giving up the third most points a game. And I hate to be an old-timer and state defense wins championships, Nolan, but it's true. And general manager Howie Roseman knows that. So what do you do first? Well, first you get rid of that defensive staff and hire one of the most respected defensive minds in the game in Vic Fangio. After that, you revamp that secondary by bringing back fan favorite and talented safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson, along with drafting two rookies who make an immediate impact at cornerback in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, who both finished as finalists for Defensive Rookie of the Year. A complete 180 from last year, the Eagles now finish number one in total defense. In addition to the improved secondary, Roseman finds a diamond in the rough in Zach Bond on a one-year deal. And with great players and coaches around him, Bond is able to make the position change to inside backer and becomes an all-pro in just one season of playing the position. Playing alongside the best defensive line in football, these acquisitions made the difference for the Eagles on the defensive side of the ball this year. And in the first half of the Super Bowl, they shut down one of the best quarterbacks in the world. On offense, though it wasn't their issue a season prior, Roseman knows there is always room for improvement and makes one of the most successful signings in NFL history by signing Saquon Barkley to a 3-year deal. He finishes as a finalist for MVP, tallies over 2,000 yards, and goes for 124 yards per game in the playoffs with 5 touchdowns. Roseman has been perfecting this offense for quite some time now, getting Hurts, Smith, and 4 starters on that offensive line through the draft, while also acquiring A.J. Brown, Jahan Dotson, and Mekhi Becton through trade. I could go on for hours and hours about additional moves that Roseman has made to set this team up for a Super Bowl, but the bottom line is he is one of, if not the best executives in football, and much of the credit for the success the Eagles had this season after dealing with plenty of other issues goes to him after one of the best off seasons by a GM in recent memory. I'll remind you that this is the same guy who won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. And as long as the Eagles can retain Roseman, I wouldn't be shocked if they add a couple more Lombardis to a case that now features 2.
Yeah, fans calling for his head all the time. Last year, I think it's safe to say that the guys in the front office know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for the analysis on the big game, Max. I'll send it back to Joe at the desk.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen. Texas softball is sitting at first in the NCAA rankings, and Grabiel Silva will enlighten us on what is in store this season for this roster. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to College Press Box. In 2024, Mike White and Texas softball finished with 45 wins as a runner-up in the Women's College World Series. However, in 2025, sitting as the number 1 ranked team in the first poll of the season, Texas softball has some unfinished business. Let's turn it over to Joseph.
Yeah, thanks, Nolan. I'm here with Grabiel Silva. How you doing, Grabiel?
I'm doing great, Joe. The Super Bowl was not as exciting as we anticipated, but now it's time to shift our focus to the diamond now.
Yeah, what a snoozer that was. I really thought we were going to get a better game, but Texas softball, started their season this past weekend. How did it go in your opinion?
Well, the Texas softball team took a trip around the Gulf Coast this past weekend. They played 6 games in 3 days and in 3 different locations. On Friday in Lafayette, the Longhorns took on Longwood University and Louisiana Lafayette. Texas run-ruled both teams 8-0 in 5 innings. The top half of the lineup produced most of the runs in the game against Longwood. In the late game against the Raging Cajuns, Reese Atwood left the yard for her first home run of the season, and it set the tone for another Texas run-rule victory on Friday night. In both games, Texas had 1 explosive inning to get closer to the run rule threshold. On Saturday, the Longhorns traveled to Beaumont to take on St. John's and Lamar University. In the first game against St. John's, freshman pitcher Cambria Salmon held St. John scoreless while the offense scored 5 runs en route to another victory. In the second game of the day against Lamar, the Longhorns were down 1-0 through 3 innings before going on a scoring frenzy the rest of the game and taking a 13-1 lead into the bottom of the 7th inning. In the bottom of the inning, Texas pitcher Sophia Simpson was unable to close out the game and gave up 6 runs, but the Longhorns were able to win the game 13-7. And finally on Sunday, the Longhorns traveled to Huntsville for another day of a doubleheader. The first game against Tulsa was a low-scoring affair, but the Longhorns were able to stay ahead and win 4-2. In the final game of the weekend, Texas took on Sam Houston. Texas jumped out to a 5-0 lead and didn't look back, eventually winning this game 8-3. Texas finished this weekend 6-0 and outscored their opponents 46-12. They proved that they have not missed a step and are ready to live up to their preseason expectations.
You talk about justifying the #1 ranking, just dominant, especially in those first few run rule games. But who are the key players to watch specifically for you, and what makes them great?
Well, Joe, this team is full of experienced starters. They're all over the field. One of their best players, of course, is junior catcher Reese Atwood. She has been named to multiple preseason award watch lists and will probably be in consideration as the best softball player in America at the end of the year. Last year, she hit over 400 and had 23 home runs, and she's looking for another monster year in her junior season. Another leader looking to take the next step is sophomore pitcher Tegan Cavan. After exploding onto the scene last year and helping lead the Longhorns to a Women's College World Series appearance, just like Atwood, she's been named to multiple preseason watch lists and is looking to improve with her experience from a year ago. Multiple other players are also looking to continue their success from a year ago, like sophomores Katie Stewart and Caden Henry, along with some familiar faces like Mia Scott, Ashton Maloney, and Leanne Good. I would say be on the lookout for big production from Good, who's had a good offseason and is finally looking to finally break out. I would also be on the lookout for freshman Cambria Salmon. In their media availability, Cavan praised Salmon for coming onto campus ready to go and prepared for the jump from high school to college. I expect that she'll make some appearances in the middle of a very stacked rotation and become a force for years to come for this softball team.
You talk about a loaded roster along with Reese Atwood. So much depth on this team for Mike White. But when you look at this team, what are really their keys to success? How can they repeat almost a similar 45-win season and eventually take home the trophy?
Well, I think they're going to probably end up winning more than 45 games this year. When you look at this team, you can't really find many things that are wrong with it. They returned many of the same players that led them to be runner-ups a season ago, like we mentioned earlier. What they did not have a year ago compared to the team they lost to in the World Series was Oklahoma. What they didn't have was experience. They're one of the most experienced teams in the nation right now, and to me, that's part of the reason why they're the #1 team in the preseason. Compared to the 4-time reigning champion Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma lost a lot of starters. I mean, they had a 4-year group that won 4 straight national championships, right? They lost all of that experience. They experienced so much success. Now, this Longhorn softball team can make a run to bring home a national championship. They have an elite pitching staff who's become more and more experienced as they get older, and the offense, as I mentioned earlier, can win games by themselves. It seems like the perfect storm is brewing for the Longhorns this season. And if they can finally get over that Oklahoma hump, I could see them hoisting that national championship trophy at the end of the season.
You know, it's crazy to think they lost a lot of their players in Oklahoma and still are ranked #4 in the country. It just shows how great their program is. But, you know, best of luck to Texas softball and Mike White's ball club the rest of the way. Back to you at the desk, Nolan.
Thanks, Joseph and Grabiel. This past Sunday, Texas women's basketball had another ranked matchup on their hands, welcoming the #2 ranked South Carolina Gamecocks. Zoe Frigilana will join us when we return. We'll be right back. Welcome back to College Press Box. #4 Texas women's basketball welcomed the #2 South Carolina Gamecocks to the Moody Center. Let's take a look at what transpired. Picking up in the first with Madison Booker hitting a tough fadeaway And then later in the first, Rory Harmon says, "I can do that too," as she puts Texas up 9-5. South Carolina would respond with a beautiful fast break leading to a wide open Tessa Johnson 3, tying the game. Texas would then go on a little run, which was helped by this bucket from freshman Jordan Lee. And then on the other end, with this Texas steal right here, turning into a fast break led by Rory Harmon, who finds Jordan Lee once again for the easy lay. However, the Gamecocks would not go down without a fight as Malaysia Fulwiley puts on a plate for Joyce Edwards for the easy layup. They punch back again in the third with this 3 from Bree Hall. And then again with a 3 from Tahian Papau, cutting the lead to 1. Texas has to respond, and they do with this signature Maddie Booker midi. Now, in the fourth, Madison Booker with a hard drive and a bucket, putting Texas up by 4. It's 57-55 Texas, though, through the fourth, as Kyla Oldeker gets the steal, finds Booker, and finds her, and she lets her do the rest as she's able to finish and get the M1 after getting hit in the face. This time, Oldeker wants to do it herself, and she does, putting Texas up by 5. What a fourth quarter she had. In the final minute, South Carolina needs a bucket to tie it up, but Jordan Lee clamps up in crunch time. Now the Gamecocks need a miracle down 4, but the prayer would not be answered, allowing Rory Harmon to dribble the clock out as Texas beats South Carolina 66-62, ending its streak of 57 straight conference wins. What a game and an exciting finish at the Moody Center. Our very own Debony Serto and Aram Vila had the opportunity to cover the game as well. Here's what they had to say.
In order to be the best, you must beat the best. And that's exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles are looking to do against the Kansas City Chiefs. And Texas just became the team to beat as they snapped South Carolina's 57th SEC game winning streak.
It just makes for a very difficult matchup every time you step on the floor with them. So the bottom line is, if you're not tough, if you don't have a competitive spirit that day, you won't get beat. You'll get embarrassed.
Texas showed a lot more fight and played at a new level this time.
A potential and a height that they've never seen before. And I thought today we played at a level that maybe we haven't played at yet. But I think they're capable of that. I don't think that's a one-off. I just think we're capable of playing that well. When you get in games like this, y'all, it comes down to half-court offense and half-court defense. At the end of the day, that's what wins these games.
The Longhorns led the entire time.
Coach says all the time, this is the type of games like we want to be in. So I think it's just, it was down to the wire, plays need to be made, and, have fun out there, let loose, but not too much.
Texas gets revenge against South Carolina, winning 67-62, but will look to turn the page over as they travel to Kentucky, which is not going to be an easy fight. That's all from me here at the Moody Center. Debony Serta, TSTV Sports.
So about a month and a half ago, I stood in the same spot in the same building at the Moody Center, and I told you guys that Texas men's basketball had the task of defeating two-time defending national champion UConn Huskies. And today, on Super Bowl Sunday, the Texas women's basketball team was faced with the same task in defeating defending national champion Don Staley's South Carolina Gamecocks.
The win was fueled by a strong performance by Madison Booker, who posted 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists on the day. She only shot 7 of 22 on the day, but she made key plays when she needed to, including a huge offensive rebound to help close out the Gamecocks once and for all. The two-headed monster in the front court for the Texas Longhorns and Taylor Jones and Kyla Oldeker also posted strong performance, with Jones having 11, dominating the first half, and Oldeker having 13, helping to close out the game. Overall, it was a gutsy team performance, and this team just showed how much confidence and trust they have in each other.
I mean, it's not pretty, 7-22, but shoot. I can score a ball. I worked on those shots before. I've taken those shots before. I've made those shots before. So I just, I'm not second guessing my shot. I mean, hey, kudos to Kyla. She got my rebounds. Appreciate it. But I think also those two, yeah, they were good shots. But then also I saw some times where I could pass to my teammates, which I think I made a good pass to Shea, backdooring, some pass to the post. So I just think, just kind of still trying to find the balance of when to score and when to pass.
What a moment for women's basketball and women's sports in general. Texas, South Carolina, two of the best teams in the country coming together to do battle. It was a battle of the Titans. And one thing that Dawn Staley said is that she hopes that she can control her team's destiny despite this loss. But Texas has secured themselves as the team to beat, at least in the SEC, as they are now number 1 in the SEC standings. But it's not going to be easy road from here on out. They still have to play Kentucky on Tuesday, and a week from now they have to play LSU and Kim Mulkey. That's going to be crazy. But if there's one thing that Vic Schaefer said and emphasized to his team and the media, it's that they have to live in the moment. And if there's anything you take away from this game, just know that on Super Bowl Sunday, this moment, Sunday, February 9th, the eyes of the nation were on Texas. I'm Aaron Vell reporting from the Moody Center for TSTV Sports.
Awesome job, Debony and Aram. To talk more about the Longhorns' statement win, let's go back to Joseph with a special guest.
Thanks, Nolan. I'm here with Zoe Frigilana on her first episode of College Press Box. How you doing, Zoe?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. What a win it was for the Lady Longhorns. What were the key factors, in your opinion, that played a significant role in securing this win against South Carolina?
Well, the Longhorn women proved resilient and tough against last year's national champions. The 66-62 win ended the Gamecocks' 57-game winning streak in regular season SEC games. The Texas Longhorns secured their 20th straight home win and now hold a 3-way tie atop the SEC standings. Sophomore Madison Booker was the Longhorns' lead scorer with 20 points and 11 rebounds, reeling in her 5th double-double of the season. Senior guard Rory Harmon was a key player in the final seconds of the game, hitting 2 crucial free throws with about 10 seconds left to widen the margin from a 2-point lead to the final 4-point gap. Senior Taylor Jones had a game herself, scoring 11 points, making that her 17th double-digit scoring game this season. Texas started out very strong in the first half, but came back a little slow in the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter with a nail-biter tight score of 49-49. Backup center Kyla Oldacre helped the Longhorns to pull off the win, though, scoring 8 of her 13 total points in the fourth quarter, making her the second lead scorer for Texas this game. The Longhorns moved to 24-2 this season, and with the number 2 ranked takedown, they're going into their next 2 ranked opponent games with high confidence.
You know, records are made to be broken. You heard Nolan talk about the 57-game conference winning streak finally getting snapped with this gigantic win. But what did the Longhorns do specifically, and what did they implement in this game that was different from their previous matchup in Columbia?
Well, they really turned it around. In this intense rematch, it was obvious the Longhorns implemented several key success strategies. Texas capitalized on size this time, with 4 out of 5 of their starters standing at 6 foot or above. The Longhorns outscored the Gamecocks 40-26 in the paint, which was vital in securing crucial baskets. Unlike the first meeting, when the Longhorns struggled to contain South Carolina's offense, they proved themselves more defensively this time around, particularly in the fourth quarter. Additionally, the Longhorns did a great job minimizing foul trouble, maintaining a disciplined defensive approach. The Longhorns were able to hold South Carolina to just 13 points, making only 4 out of 5 attempts in the final quarter. Texas did a great job minimizing the Gamecocks' possessions with their effective rebounding. The team gave themselves additional scoring opportunities by out-rebounding South Carolina 42-35. 15 of these offensive rebounds, which in turn became 19 second chance points. Overall, the team showed more preparedness when facing the Gamecocks this time around. The strategic adjustments and urgency under pressure played a huge part in securing the win. The Longhorns' desire to compete rewarded them and proved them to be the team to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. And now they move up in the rankings with that, big win. But how do you see them finishing out this regular season? They only have a few games left. And what are your thoughts on how they'll perform in their upcoming games?
Well, honestly, with only 5 games left in the regular season and the confidence this team has, coming off a huge upset win, I see them winning out. This team is in strong health and has great chemistry on and off the court. With 2 ranked opponent games left in the season, I believe Texas has a chance to position themselves as the potential number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. The true testament will be Sunday's game against highly ranked LSU. I believe Texas has the upper hand in this matchup because the Tigers are visiting the Longhorns in their house. Texas fans have been a huge supporting factor to this team's success, with over 10,000 fans in attendance for the game versus South Carolina. Winning all of their last 5 games, Texas is on a roll, while LSU has only won 4 of their last 5, with their only loss being to South Carolina. That atmosphere in the Moody Center really drives these girls to show out for Texas, and I think that facing LSU at home will just motivate them even more. First, though, they face the ranked Kentucky Tigers at Kentucky, but with key players like Rory Harmon and Madison Booker, I think Texas has the game on lock too. Harmon has contributed to the team's success significantly and looks stronger than ever since making her return in January after coming off that ACL injury. Madison Booker continues to prove herself as the team's top scorer, averaging 16.5 points per game. Leadership and scoring ability, Texas is such a well-rounded team. It's going to be a powerful squad that's just really hard to beat. The momentum is on their side, and with high stakes late in the season, Texas is showing poise and dominance to solidify themselves as a top contender in the tournament. If they can stay healthy and keep this confidence going, I believe this team has the potential to go all the way.
I don't hate that prediction at all. And by the way, props to the Longhorn faithful that's showing up 10,500, like you were saying, on a Super Bowl Sunday, which, by the way, I hate that they have people playing on Super Bowl Sunday, but good on the Longhorn faithful for showing up anyways for this amazing team. Thank you for joining us, Zoe. I'll toss it back to Nolan at the desk.
Awesome analysis, Zoe. When College Press Box returns, we'll take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports and look ahead to what's to come. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back to College Press Box. Let's take a look at this past week in Longhorn sports. Last week, USA Baseball announced that junior Texas baseball players Max Dagley and Jalen Flores have been named to the Golden Spikes Award watch list, along with 53 other amateur players. Dagley enters the 25 season with much hype after his Big 12 Player of the Year winning season, while Flores tallied a team-high 22 doubles and 56 RBIs. The Jim Schlossnagle era of Texas baseball officially begins on Friday against Louisville in the Shriners Children's College Showdown at Globe Life Field in Arlington.
Last week, Texas men's golf traveled to Hawaii for the Amer Ari Invitational, where junior Tommy Morrison captured his first individual collegiate title. Morrison shot 21 under par over 3 rounds, which was highlighted by a 9 under 63 in the final round. Morrison clinched the victory by making a 15-foot birdie putt in a playoff against Hampton Roberts of North Carolina. The Longhorns will have about a month's rest before they return to competitive play at the Haight Collegiate Tournament from March 8th through the 10th.
Number 3, Texas men's tennis defeated number 1 TCU 4-1 at the Weller Indoor Tennis Center this past Friday. Sophomore Lucas Brown was dominant in singles action, while Timo Legoux, who was number 11th ranked, won in straight sets. Next, men's tennis will compete in Dallas at the ITA National Indoor Championship from February 14th to 18th. Now let's take a look at this week in Longhorn sports. On Wednesday, women's basketball travels to Lexington to play the Kentucky Wildcats at 6 p.m. on ESPN2. Then on Friday, the Bevo Classic in softball begins as they play Maryland at 4 o'clock and then Texas Tech at 6:30 on SEC Network Plus. And then, baseball season finally begins for the Jim Schlossnagle era, playing Louisville at 7 p.m. in Arlington on Flow Sports. Then on Saturday, the Bevo Classic continues with softball playing UMass at 4 o'clock and then Maryland at 6:30 on SEC Network Plus. And then baseball will play Ole Miss once again in Arlington at Globe Life Field at 7 o'clock on Flow Sports. Then on Saturday night at 7 p.m. on ESPN, men's basketball will play against Kentucky. Then on Sunday, the Bevo Classic concludes with softball going against Texas Tech at 12:30 p.m. on SEC Network Plus. Then women's basketball play against Kim Mulkey and the LSU Tigers at 2 p.m. on ABC, while baseball continues in that Flow Sports game against Oklahoma State in Arlington at Globe Life Field at 6:30 p.m.
And that will conclude this week's edition of College Press Box. Please make sure to tune in to our other sports show this week, including College Crossfire on Wednesdays airing at 9 p.m. and the 1-0 Sports Show on Fridays at 11 a.m. Also, we invite you to follow our coverage on Instagram, X, and TikTok, and YouTube at the handle TSTV Sports. Thank you to our analysts, everyone in Master Control, our executive producer and host, Joseph Duffey, and all of our reporters in TSTV Sports. I'm Nolan Clay. He's Joseph Duffey. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night.